this is potentially actually a little bit of good news for the industry, and this was first reported by Punchbowl, a news outlet, that House Financial Services Committee Chair Patrick McHenry, who's a Republican, has joined forces with Richie Torres, who's a Democrat, to propose a new bill to narrow the definition of what a crypto broker is for tax purposes. So this goes back a long way to the 2021 bill passed in Congress, the infrastructure bill, which contained a controversial provision that any crypto-related transaction over $10,000 or $10,000 requires the seller to collect information from the other transacting party and to report that to the government. And this was controversial because critics said that it would sweep up not only financial actors into reporting requirements, but also potentially bring in developers, traders, miners or validators, and even end users. And so if you're transacting like an NFT or cash to crypto or even crypto to crypto, over $10,000, then you would have to report that. So the new bill attempts to limit the provision and also limit the type of actors in that transaction from those reporting requirements. So it's potentially good news for the industry, and McHenry and Torres have framed this around keeping innovation in the United States, which I think is an interesting thing, because lots of crypto companies have been complaining recently that they might go to more favorable legal environments if the US keeps on cracking down both at the regulatory level and also the lawmaking, policy-making level. So it's potentially good news for the industry, and this is something the industry has been trying to fight back against for a while, but this seems like a provision or a new bill that actually has legs and might actually go somewhere.
All right, I'll grab it. I think this is why you hear from like the crypto, regulatory lawyers and lobbying class, why we need law and not regulation. And the reason is that they have the ear of a few people in Congress, right? They have the ear of some people who have been friendly or at least open to hearing why crypto should continue to exist in the U.S. in some form, right? So this is what you hear. You hear people trying to push. Okay, we need to push the law. We need to push it on the lawmaker side because Gary Gensler and others within the regulatory apparatus of the U.S. are absolutely turning a cold shoulder to the crypto industry here and now. We see it play out time and time again. That said, Congress right now is like in deadlock mode, right? There's not going to be a lot of stuff that gets passed even outside of the realm of crypto. And I think that's worth entertaining, right? You have Kevin McCarthy, like if it's like one or two people can vote to eliminate him from his leadership role if he runs afoul of them based on, the deal that was brokered to get him into that speakership, right? So even outside of the realm of crypto, I think there's going to be a really, 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 really difficult environment for passing pretty much anything in Congress. So I would imagine that the likelihood of this becoming the law of the land is pretty low, but it does speak to, again, what you're hearing from those advancing the regulatory conversation on behalf of crypto is, hey, we need laws. We can't be reliant on regulators such as Gary Gensler to stand up a common sense framework for how this industry should exist in the U.S. So we'll see. We'll see if this goes anywhere, but it's nice to see at least a little bit of movement. Wendy?
My issue is I feel like it's so hard for lawmakers to do absolutely anything because we don't really have any guidelines from Gary Gensler. One thing I will say that was kind of a positive that happened in the tragic Voyager case is that the judge basically told the SEC, you don't get to, like the bankruptcy court, we have laws that we have to abide by. You don't get to come in and say X, Y, and Z. So I feel like there's been a mockery made in the courts, especially for all the Chapter 11s that are happening in regards to the SEC, because the Voyager deal was almost close to being closed and the SEC came in and said no. So I feel like more actions like this of idiocy that we're seeing from the SEC is going to really upset some of these judges that have been in the game for a while and that have other laws that they have to uphold. So hopefully we'll see Congress step in and be like, hey, we need some sort of guidelines. We need to push this through. We need to make it easier for retail to pay their taxes, to operate in this type of environment, whether they make it legal or unlegal. So that's a good thing. Another thing too is that I'm wondering if this will even get pushed out because there's no legal framework to kind of determine what crypto is and what it isn't. And if they push this through and then the SEC or whomever comes in and makes a separate law, they might have to go in and change a lot of different aspects to it. So it kind of feels like they're wasting time. And I feel like all the government agencies need to get together and figure this out and then push through some of these tax things.